Hello, everybody. How are you? How's everybody doing today? Welcome. Give me another thumbs up if you can hear me okay. I want to make sure that we are good to go. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. I think there's going to be people jumping in as we go here. A lot of people registered for this, so I'm sure I turned the waiting room off so they can just come right in. But I know we have a lot of educators on this call. I know we have some individuals who have jumped into the at-home work experience, and this is definitely a unique experience for all of us. And like I said, I just felt called to kind of do a seminar like this because I've been working from home and teaching online for 4 years now, and it's definitely a whole different ball game for sure. And for me, I had time, right? I had time to transition from the on-campus experience to the classroom campus experience, a month or so to kind of get prepped and ready. And a lot of us didn't have that when that happened, especially if you're an educator or your administrator, just to sort of drop in your lap. And I don't know about you, but I've been seeing all over social media, especially with some of my home districts, just the amazing things that teachers are doing and what you can do when your back's against the wall, things that you thought were unattainable or not something you were able to do. All of a sudden, boom, it's happening. So that's a little takeaway to jump in here. But I definitely wanted to just say thank you for your time. And, I talked to a lot of teachers around the country, and some of the most dedicated individuals in the whole world. I know everybody's doing their part, and teachers definitely have a way of doing their part too. Everybody right now has to do their part. Of course, our healthcare workers are doing their part, and I have healthcare workers in the family that are working directly with COVID-19 patients. And while I love them to death, we are staying far away from them. But everybody's doing their part. Moms and dads who are now suddenly at home, right, are doing their part, working from home. Our teachers, you're still asked to do a job. You're still asked to inspire. You're still asked to instruct these kiddos. And I just felt called to kind of put something together. And I didn't want to make this super fancy. Okay, I don't have a giant PowerPoint and lights and music. I just wanted to talk, right? Let's connect a little bit. Let's share a little bit. And I believe I have it set so you all are muted right now, and there's a live chat that we can jump into. And hopefully we don't get Zoom bombed. I've heard some horror stories about that. So that's why you had to email me, and we can get around that. So let's jump in here. So first of all, anything can happen in the online world. And everybody see this picture of that I have in front of you? It looks kind of strange, right? So let me show you what this is. I teach public speaking online, believe it or not. I teach public speaking online, interpersonal communication, business communication, all these communication classes. And we have an audience requirement in my class. We have an audience requirement. And the audience requirement is you must have a minimum of 5 people to be in your audience when you're teaching public speaking. So it has to be a minimum of 5 people. So the students have to upload their video to YouTube. They have to film themselves giving their speeches and upload to YouTube, okay? Let me just see if I'm losing everybody here. Are we still good? Okay, sorry. This is going to be a lesson in going online, is the technology aspect. So they have to upload their speeches to YouTube and show me their audience members, okay? This person here decided that they were going to dress up somebody. As you can see on my screen here, they wanted to sort of dress themselves up and pretend there was an audience member there. They didn't think I would notice. So as you can see, I stopped it at the beginning to kind of show them, guess what? Old Professor Van Allen sees everything. And I failed her, but I did give her another chance to remake up the assignment because, I believe in second chances. And we talked about how perhaps this is not the, most professional thing to do in the entire world. So I just wanted to kind of share that and say anything can happen in the online world. So let's just keep that in mind as we are jumping around and jumping back and forth here and dealing with technology as videos go in and out. And this is just what happens, and we have to deal with it. So ask yourselves this question, okay? Where were you a month ago? Think about that. Where were you exactly 1 month ago? I know at this point I was on stage in front of 300 people at a secretary's conference in St. Augustine, Florida. And this was still coming up in the news a little bit, and shaking hands, taking pictures, hugs, doing all that. 300 people just a month ago. I looked at the date, it was almost 1 month ago. And a week later, a day later, things had changed. And I have to say, I'm encouraged a little bit by the positive news that I see out there, not just the COVID numbers that are kind of thrown in our face all the time, but I love stuff like John Krasinski from The Office is doing the positive news movement and not trying to ignore what's going on in the pandemic, but really trying to train myself and our family to focus on other things that are out there without remaining aloof from the numbers and the news, but having that mental discipline to decide what we're going to watch, how much we're going to watch, what we're going to talk about in front of our kids, and with all of us teaching what we're going to be talking about with our students too. So we realize the gravity of the situation. Of course we do, okay? But we're choosing not to live in fear of our world, and of course, choosing not to live in fear of our new online teaching adventure. So raise your hand if you have been thrust into an online role all of a sudden. Let me just see a show of hands. Yes, you've been thrust into an online role and you didn't. So I'm going to switch to gallery view here so I can see everybody. Wonderful. All right, so not a role you were probably expecting, especially those of you maybe close to retirement. You were probably like, this is quite a challenge to see at the last 3 months of my retirement, but nonetheless, right, this is life. But quick little intro here. So I've been teaching online for 4 years, and I'm also a speaker and trainer with the John Gordon Companies. Shout out to Amy and Jeff. I see Julie and Mark and a few other of our trainers on here. Thank you for joining me. I also do some training on my own with Allan Communications. So I'm used to going out and being with people, and this is nice, because even though we're not on stage here, we're still in community. And I encourage you, use the chat room too. Use the chat room. Let's type some questions in as we go. And it looks like we're not getting Zoom bombed yet, so that's a good thing. All right. So like I said, I'm going to send everything that you hear today. I'm going to send out to you. I have your emails. I have your emails. No, don't worry. I'm not going to spam you with anything. But I'm going to send out just an outline of what we talk about so you can just listen. Let's just listen. Let's just interact. I'm also going to send you the resources that I talk about here today. So that's all coming. So let's jump to what we're here for. There's online teaching really boils down to two things, okay? Number one is interaction. Number two is availability. So let me jump to tips and tools here. Let's get to the technical part. Now, I know a lot of you are dealing with, you're dealing with so many different platforms, and I couldn't make this about how to teach online with one platform because you're all using a multitude. I use Blackboard, there's Canvas, there's Angel, there's D2L, there's so many out there. So we're not going to focus on the technical aspects. I'm going to sort of do a big picture thing. Let me first start with environment, okay? Environment. I taught online with VIP Kid for about 6 months. I don't know if you've ever heard of VIP Kids, but I actually taught English to Chinese students from ages 5 to 12 for about 6 months, and would do it in the mornings. And they were really big, and so is my university, Kaiser, on having a virtual classroom. I mean, I had to have specific things behind me and my name, and I had to have good lighting. And with some of you doing videos, understand that interaction is a two-way street. We expect it from our students too, by raising their hand, by doing the discussion board, but from your sense as well. Students are going to notice the little things. They're going to notice the effort that you put into it. So I love the pictures I'm seeing online of teachers who have brought stuff from their classrooms. If they had a Star Wars themed classroom, they're putting some stuff up behind them. Add a little bit of flair, right? Add some personality to the equation, because students see those things and it helps you to find a little bit more comfort in where you find yourselves. If you're comfortable in your surrounding, it's going to make your flow a little bit better. And especially from a teaching standpoint, right? Teachers rely so much on feedback and interaction. We rely on that face-to-face. We rely on our environment as well. Our classrooms, we feel like we're in the Matrix, right? When we breathe in, remember when he breathes into the Matrix and you see the screen shrink in and shrink out? He was almost one with his surrounding. I know that's a little bit of Zen, but I can't tell you how many classrooms I've been in. I walked into a classroom once and I saw a giant Chewbacca next to me, okay? Then I turned behind me and there's a giant Darth Vader. So I've seen classrooms that are Wizard of Oz theme. I've seen classrooms that are Star Wars, Star Trek, anything you can think of, Moana. And the teachers have told me that the students just feel comfortable, right? That's normal to them. And they want to function so much better there. So don't discount your setting and your environment. When I would do VIP Kid and when I teach online now, I have some spotlights that I set up and that shine right on me. I feel like I'm Liza Minnelli on stage there, but you know what? It just adds a little bit more color. You look fresh, you look lively. It happens, it helps. Tech-wise too, I know everybody always says I look like I'm in Top Gun with my headset and this here. I like a USB mic. I like being plugged in. That way you get crisp sound. Hopefully the sound is good here. I've been using this mic, $30. $30 for this mic, Microsoft USB mic. Used it for about 2 years now. It's really, really good. So that's our environment, right? And a lot of you may choose to do a live video. You may choose to do a recorded video. We can talk more about that in a little bit. Let's look at technology, all right? Know your platform. Go through the trainings that your district is providing and know this. A lot of you are like, oh, I'm get to work from home. Maybe this is awesome. This is cool. This is different. I have to tell you, I probably spend a lot of my time simply troubleshooting with my students because they have to submit their speeches to YouTube and then upload it to Blackboard and then try to find the discussion board and find their quiz. And even though I have it so everything is right here, and I have giant arrows pointing to click here and then click here. Like it's so, we think it's so simple, but they'll call me and I'll say, okay, look to your left and now go down. There's your link. And it's like right there. So know that you're going to be working through troubleshooting an awful lot, and is as simple and as effective and as type A as you may make something. Believe it or not, there's going to be a lot of questions still. And my key to you here is just roll with it, right? This is what we have to do now. Just drink it in, man. Just got to roll with it. You're going to be troubleshooting a lot. And I don't have an IT degree, like a lot of you probably, all right? And you're like, I barely know this session myself. Know it as well as you can. And here's the thing too. If you don't know something with your students, simply tell them, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do this right now. Let me figure this out. Let me get back to you in an hour. The honesty part is going to play a huge role, because if you be a little bit more vulnerable with them, they may be willing to be a little bit more vulnerable with you. And don't be, I don't think he's on the chat here, but don't be my father-in-law. Okay, I can say that. My wife's in another room. Let me tell you this why. Because he's a professor as well. He's a building construction professor at a state college. He had to go online as well. And last week I spent every single day on the phone with him for 3-4 times a day, helping him to get his online course going. He had sat through the trainings with his university, but nothing was being absorbed. God bless him, okay? God bless him. Great, wonderful guy. But then when I looked at his podcast, what he had recorded for his students, all it was a blank screen, and it was just his voice for 45 minutes doing a lecture. No frills, nothing, no background, no picture, monotone voice. I said, okay, have fun. You know, I got you this far, right? I at least got you so you could record the thing. So we can add, that leads to, we talked about environment, technology. Now let's talk about personality, right? A lot of us are not used to these barriers. Okay, I feel like I want to jump into the screen here, right? If you've ever seen me speak, I feel like I want to just jump into the audience, man. I got so much energy. And I know a lot of you feel like that too. My teachers just, you know, you relish being up there, and not because it's, hey, look at me. It's more because, hey, I want to help you. We're in this together. I mean, raise your hand if your classroom feels like a family to you, right? I mean, and then all of a sudden it's March, right, Allison? If it was March, and you can't see your family anymore, right? And literally, some of us can't see our families anymore, but your kids, and I have 50-year-olds in my class, and I still call them my kids, but you can't see your kids anymore. And that's sad. And I get that. And it's almost like these stages of grief, right? You know, if you've seen the stages of grief, a lot of us are going through that right now with what we can't do right now with our teachers. I hope a lot of us are at that acceptance phase. And I hope a lot of us are there in life too. Acceptance that this is temporary, okay? But it doesn't mean that it's easy, okay? And I'm not trying to tell you, hey, this is all going to be easy. It's not. And a lot of you have been doing this for 2 weeks. It's not. But you know what? By God, you're doing it, okay? You're going through it. You're in this. You're here learning, and you're going to have amazing stories after this. Look at this as a character building moment. So it's hard enough, right? To sometimes with sometimes if you have older students or any students too, it's hard enough to really have their attention the whole time. Now you have a screen in front of you. Now you can't physically be there. And with this generation, if you have some older students, 10, 11, 12, and I don't know how old people have phones now. I didn't get a phone until I was 18, but you know, that was a while ago now. Kids are probably getting phones at 8, 9 years old now. So this generation is using their devices so much to engage, right? There's so much engagement going on there. So that's why when you're shooting your videos, when you're thinking about assignments, you have to find a way. Think about how I can make this as engaging as possible. And I'm going to talk about some resources next, some polls you can do that can lead to discussion assignments. Things where if you're doing something live, or if you don't want their sound to be on, like I said, raising their hand or holding something up in front of the screen, getting them to talk back or do, after watching your video and record, getting them to then do something with the information that they've received from you. So however you can interact is going to make it so much more helpful. I can tell you that, no doubt about it. I started an assignment called a social issues YouTube assignment, because you know I have a lot of teenagers and dual enrollment students in my classes, and I said, all right, what's something I could do to really get this generation into public speaking? So I have them create a social issues assignment, and all I do is I tell them this doesn't have to be fancy at all. I want you to think of a social issue that you care about, okay? Something that's meaningful to you, a political, social issue, whatever you want to call it. Get a little speech going, so memorize it, or you know, a minute or two, just get comfortable. I want to see your passion come forward. And then I have them do a selfie style speech because they're comfortable with that. And I have them upload that to YouTube. I tell them, if you're comfortable, share it on your social media, send it to me. And I don't grade it like, oh, you weren't looking this way, and I don't grade it like that. It's more for, I want to see you come alive. I want to see you be you. So if you have the power to create assignments, and a lot of you stuff may have come pre-formed for you, but if you have the power to create assignments, think of something you can do that stokes their passion. That's not just doing the prescribed worksheets, but think of something that you can step out and say, all right, what can I do here that maybe I can't do in my classroom, or I can't do as effective? You have a little bit more freedom now. Take hold of that. You always have creative freedom. You always have academic freedom, especially in higher ed. You have academic freedom, and you have that to an extent in secondary as well. And I had students emailing me a week into my class asking about this social issues assignment, and it's not even due until the end of the semester. They were just that excited about it. So try to find new ways that you can get excited too, and understand the reality of this situation and creating a new routine. A lot of us think, well, I'm just going to try to keep doing what I've been doing. Can't quite do that right now. So if we can settle into a new routine and accept the reality that the online classroom is not going to be the same as your on-ground classroom, that's going to help. Getting to that acceptance phase, right? And saying, okay, it's not going to be the same, but what can I do different here? How can I adapt to my current situation and then thrive in that? So let me show you some tools and resources. Last time I tried to share my screen, it didn't really work as well. So I'm going to try it for a second here. And whatever, if it doesn't work, I will, I'm going to send this stuff to you anyways, but okay. I want to show you what I see. Okay. There are so many different sites now for everybody. So many different sites. And, okay. Let me see here. Share screen. Screen 2. Okay. And commonsense.org has been a terrific one. Flipgrid has been a terrific one. And as well as Parlay Ideas has been a terrific one. Here on a second. There, it should come up. There we go. We should see it. Thumbs up if you see my screen, the future of class discussion. Okay, awesome. I'm learning too, guys. Now, so these ones, Flipgrid and Parlay, are ones I've seen a lot of teachers use that help them to record video and stay in touch with their classes. And what's great about Flipgrid and what's great about Parlay is that a lot of this stuff is free for you teachers right now. And class discussions, let me just say this, if you have the ability to go outside of whatever platform your school district is using, obviously stay within the platform if you must. But if you have the ability to create and go outside of that, you may want to consider, and I'm going to send all these out to you, sites like this. So ways to stay in touch with your students. Remind is a terrific website. A lot of it is free too. Just a way to kind of keep the communication in one area. You don't have to give your phone out. It's a little bit more of a secure area than that. Talking Points is another one that a lot of my teacher friends have been using. And with video lesson creation, a lot of you are probably jumping in on this screen here, right? Screencast-O-Matic, well-designed one that is free to a certain extent. And I'm going to send these out to you. Edpuzzle, and with student portfolios as well. If you want to get them to create something, you can do that through Seesaw and Bulb are great ones that are free that you can log your class into and create assignments there as well. And I'm going to send you out this. There's an article up here as well. I'm going to send this out as well. This really inspired this workshop, I'll say to speak. So it's a great read. And if you scroll through, all the red that you see here, all these links are free and easy resources that you can do with your students right in your online classrooms. As well, too, as, let me switch back over speaker view. If you're not familiar with Google Polls, Google Forums, Google Polls, I'm going to send that out to you. You can create polls and fun quizzes and send them out to your students. Just another way you can interact with them. So let me simplify things right here with this technology phase. Try to find 2 websites, just 2. One that'll help you with video creation, one that'll help you with interaction or polls. That's it. Try not, because if you start going down that rabbit hole, oh Lord, you're going to find a million different sites and you're going to get confused by it. So look at the sites that I send you. Those have been tested out and recommended, and there's definitely ones that you can try to use with your students. So I know technology and interaction definitely breeds a lot of anxiety because we're dealing with the unknown, right? And anytime, if you ever wondered why you have anxiety, everybody's got anxiety. I got anxiety. Everybody's got anxiety. A lot of times it's because you're dealing with something that's unknown to you. So the fear sets in, so the body reacts, and the survival instinct kicks in, and it kind of heightens you a little bit. And that can happen with this virtual learning because not only are you dealing with the virtual classroom, you're dealing with it at home with your spouse here and your kids here, and you're worried about your older parents, and you're worried about the world, and you're checking the numbers, and you can't go to the store, and then you also have to manage your classroom. So no wonder there's a lot of positivity things popping up all over the place, and I encourage you to try to find them as much as you can. I know on this call here, I know Miss Julie and Miss Amy, and there's Kate on this call with the John Gordon Group, the Power of Positivity Summit, right? Type that in the chat room, Julie and Amy. What's the Power of Positivity Summit, right? Stay positive, right? It's free to sign up with John Gordon's group. We have some amazing speakers. Go and fill your brains with some positive, amazing information and speakers. Go read books. Just go on Facebook. There's so many people sharing right now. I have people that are sharing worship music. My wife and I are doing a fitness class. We've just been doing for fun. Lean into that. So this is the mental discipline part, right? Lean in to the positive stuff that's out there because it's so easy to lean into the negative, unfortunately. So use this as a time as teachers and administrators on this call. Understand that this is probably a time to be prioritizing mental health over curriculum efficiency and academics. And you're not going to hear that too often, so run with it. Honestly, teachers and admins, you know this, search your feelings, you know this to be true, right? We should be caring more about the spirit of our students, their mental state, than the individual assignments and the curriculum that we have to get through. Yes, it is important, okay? It's important for my students to get through their material too, but you know what? I have had 2 students email me saying they are COVID positive, okay? It hits home. And I tell them, you know what? You get me your stuff when you can, all right? You take all the time that you need. Can I give you a resource for you to call? Would you like to call me directly, okay? That's what this time is about. And I hope that in saying that, that helps you to decrease the stress load of saying, oh, they haven't done this assignment, or I can't get to this, or I can't get to that. It's okay. That's not the main priority right now. It's just not. We can find a nice balance between academics and the spiritual nature of our students. We can definitely do that. And it's important that they get through what they have to get through. But there's other things at stake here for sure. So let's look at some things to help with our mental discipline, right? For my wonderful teachers out there and everybody listening. Number 1, outlets. Look for positive outlets that you can lean into. Yes, I know there are a million Facebook groups right now that have popped up for distance educators. That's great, okay, but not if it's just people commiserating and swirling around the negativity and saying, this sucks, I can't do this. I mean, where they're just being all negative. That's not going to feed you. Run. You have other choices that are out there. Try to find the groups that are a little bit more, right, fact-driven. Here's what's worked for me. Let's try to be more positive here. Look for the administrators who have the rules that say, hey, we're not going to do negative posts. If you have a choice, right, you have a choice of when you watch the news, how much you scroll. You also have a choice of which groups that you join. But if you can find a good one, they can definitely help. Please avoid not asking for help. A lot of us are prideful people, our teachers, right? We think we like control of our classrooms. We can do it all ourselves. But you know what? Make a phone call, go through the trainings, ask for help just so you're comfortable. That will hopefully decrease your anxiety. And you know what? Get on these Zoom calls with your friends and your family and your colleagues too. And if your district allows it to, do small group sessions with your students. If you try to get all 20, 30 of them in a room, it could be a disaster. But if you try to get 1 or 2 and you're allowed to do that, I preface that again, do it. I know I function much better in a small group setting. I will talk your ear off. But if there's a million people, I probably won't. Okay, it's just personality. So understand the personality of your students and understand how personality affects communication. And for mental discipline too. So I took my bike on my bike. Yes, I took my bike on a bike ride. I took my son on a bike ride, and we went to a neighborhood near us, and we pulled into the little pool area. We were going to sit for a little bit, and I see these 2 ladies pull up in their minivan side by side into the parking lot, and they had 1 space between them, and they had their kids in the back, and they had the sunroof open, and the kids were talking back and forth, and the ladies were just leaning over with a drink in their hand, talking to the other person in the minivan. They had a 1 spot or 2 between them. But people are just so desperate for communication now and for interaction, right? My wife's doing a Easter baking tonight virtually with her friends. So she's going to do that in the kitchen while I probably go off and watch wrestling or something. But I just love it, right? Find ways to do that. Have happy hour with your friends. It is so good for you to find balance. So we've talked about positive mental health, finding a good outlet. Now let's talk about balance here. So understand this, all right? You're entered into a whole new ball game, right? Whole new ball game. I saw somebody post online recently that my work hours are 9 to 9:10, 9:30 to 9:50, 10:30 to 11:15, 12 to 1, 2 to 2:20, where it's just what I call it chunk working. And listen, this is my life. Okay, this has been my life for 4 years, where I'm working on Tuesdays and my Mondays and Wednesdays. My wife's home with the kids, and all of a sudden I look over and my kids are bolting through the door, and this is reality. And you know what? I don't get mad. Okay, I don't get upset. They want to come see me. Hey, I'll give them a hug. Hey, thanks for coming to see me. but my wife will come in and grab them because she knows that if I'm working on something right, my time is valuable, and we respect that. So try not to get upset though if you know your kids are running in. I know you got stuff to do. It's acceptance, right? It's acceptance that you're in a new outlet here, but maybe set some ground rules early where, hey, you know what? I really need, if somebody's watching the kids, I really need 45 minutes. Lock the door, boom, go away, put the headphones on, okay? This may be a time where you have to schedule out your day, and I don't like to do this, but this may be a time where you have to schedule it out hour by hour. I've never done that, but I'm more of a list guy. I'm old school. I have a planner. I'm still old school. I've had something like this since I was probably 11. But what I would encourage you to do is set reasonable goals, right? Don't say, I got to get through these 20 things. That may not be reasonable. If your kids are home and they're being a little bit, wiry, may not be a realistic setting. Maybe cut that in half or break it down to 9. God knows you got plenty of time, so you'll probably have time tomorrow to do it, or even Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, Jackie, you love a handheld planner. I mean, I put my appointments in my phone, but man, I just love, see, I'm monochronic. So when I get done with something and I've done it, God, there's nothing, no greater feel in the world than scratching it off, man. Oh man, I could do that all day. I love it. Love it. So take pride in the little things, okay? Make sure your family knows that your time is sacred. If you just need that hour, if you know those 2 hours, that is sacred time. That has helped our situation here the last 4 years, especially when I get into a creative mode, when I have to do a workshop or write or something, I legit need no distractions. I have to get zoned in. Like this workshop, when I was doing this, I probably did 8 pages in about an hour, because when I get that creative rush, it's just boom. I have to let it all out, and I have to have that space. So give yourself that for sure. And know that getting into that work rhythm that we all like, right? It's just not going to be plausible right now for a long haul. And that's part of the acceptance phase, okay? And this is just something we have to have conversations about with our family. And that's sort of the next phase here is conversations. We looked at positive outlets. We looked at balance. Now we're looking at conversations here. And you can be the one to change the conversation in your classroom. So if you're not afraid to kind of push the envelope a little bit in your classroom or broach some subjects here, know that this is going to be an emotionally taxing period for you, for your family, but for your students too. My wife and I were sitting there last night just talking, which was nice. No TV on. It was like, let's just talk. This is nice. It's quiet. You can hear my grandfather clock going. It was like, let's just talk. It was wonderful. But we were like, what would this be like going through as a teenager? Like if I was going back to my teenage years or college, or, you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, you can't see them, or, like what are they experiencing now? And I don't have teens. I know some of you have teens, and they may not be as open with you, but this may be a time where you can sort of try to cut through some of the communication channels with them, but understand that you're going through a lot, and you know what, they may be too, and they may not just they may not know how to express it, or they may be afraid to, or they may just not quite understand the gravity of the situation, okay? So that's just something to keep in mind as you're going through here, okay? But there are going to be endless opportunities for you to weave in invaluable lessons into your teaching. Whatever your videos are, whether they're live, whatever your assignments are, think about ways you can incorporate lessons on community, family, civic responsibility, social health, even hygiene, okay? Look for ways to kind of make your worlds collide, and that will help them to be a little bit more motivated in the classroom too. And I know a lot of you have younger ones too, and it may not be as appropriate for them, but you can try to find ways to weave what's going on with our lessons. And that just makes things more relevant, especially with our older crew here, okay? So let's make sure we review as we're going here. When you're trying to find balance, as impossible as it may seem, try to find some time for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes. Last night during bath time, with my kids' bath time, I needed I had them all day. 'Cause my wife's still working. She's still working 2 days a week as a speech therapist. So she's still working. I had the kids all day, and I'm like, I need 5 minutes. Okay. And I just went, and just 5 minutes, it came back. I was good. So if you can get longer than that, wonderful. So prioritize yourself and understand you're taking this one step at a time, especially with your conversations you're having with your family and with your students. And if you're looking for another way to get your students a little bit more interested or motivated in the work, understand that you need to communicate to motivate, right? And part of communication is listening, understanding what makes your students tick. And by March, you should know really what makes them tick. There's some students that crave ownership. So maybe if you're creating assignments, maybe you can give them A, B, and C to do. One's visual, one's tactile, one's something else, okay? Maybe you can do Genius Hour, where you're saying, you know what, in English class or social studies class, whatever I'm teaching, you can create a project. I want you to look up something that you're really interested in, do the research, do a poster board, do a presentation, just on something that's interesting to them. It's called Genius Hour, where you give them the time and the space to work on something that's meaningful to them, something they can write about, something that they can create themselves that's not really tied to anything specific in your curriculum, but it's something that they're super, super passionate about, and you can post it that way. So that gives your students some ownership. But also know that we need to be reminding our students that what they're going through now is an important lesson for them that they can carry with them deep into life, and that what they contribute to the classroom, what they contribute in this fashion, they're going to have stories that they can tell much later on about how they handle themselves in this situation. And all of us can do it too, right? Everybody's going to be asking 20, 30 years, where were you? What was going on during, you don't be the one just saying, oh yeah, I was just sending memes to my friends, because we're all doing it, okay? I'm doing it too, I get it. But we have to be doing more than that. So try to find new ways that you can serve. And my teachers, you can serve your students by really trying to make this experience as pain-free as possible, as exciting as possible for them, giving them some choice with some assignments, giving them some leeway, showing them some love, making sure your classrooms are decorated a little bit. And obviously, this is sort of the last thing I want to talk about here, is making sure that your tone is on point. Yes, I'm saying your tone is on point. You're going to be doing a lot more emailing now, maybe even a lot more texting, a lot more of this video chat stuff. And this number one thing I learned about being an online instructor, I have become the exclamation point guy. I put probably too many in my emails to my students. If they email me back something, great, exclamation point, I love that topic, exclamation point, I can't wait to hear more about it in the classroom. Maybe that's a bit much, and I think there was a Seinfeld episode where Elaine did not like all the exclamation points. Nonetheless, though, I always try to convey a positive tone in any email I make, whether it be with my deans, with my students, my associate deans, bosses, emojis, smiley faces, present language, you know what I'm saying? Present language as far as English is concerned. Proper salutations. And with my students, I always use their names, right, in an email. And when they write me back, I always try to say, you know, dear so-and-so. So I try to make it personal is what I'm saying. If I know something about them, I may type that in the email as well. Hey, I heard you were doing this, or how did this go? You know, because we have forums that I've created where students can talk about themselves and their interests and things like that. And I always try to weave that into emails and phone calls with them, just to show that I really am legitimately interested in you, and we can't be side by side, but I still want to create this personal relationship with you. So remember what I said at the beginning. Online teaching is about interaction. It's about availability. When Hurricane Dorian was steamrolling towards the coast of Florida, and some of us who live in Stuart and Palm City, where, you know, obviously I live, Stuart was supposed to be ground zero where Dorian was coming. My house, our house, was supposed to come right at us, okay? And obviously it veered away. So at that point, you know, I gave and I do this every once in a while, but I gave my cell phone out to my classes, and I can't tell you how many students used it. And it was great, okay? I even had students texting me at 11 o'clock at night. It was a little weird, but, you know, they were like, hey, the assignment's due at midnight. I'm confused about this. I'm up. So, and I responded back, and I can't tell you how many times they said, thank you for the immediate response. And when I have my emails with my online kids, they must have professors that don't respond quickly, because I have my email on my phone. I'm always checking it, making sure there's no fires going on. And I write back right away, and I get it once, twice a week. Thank you so much for the immediate response. Thank you for the prompt response. Don't leave your students hanging. This is not a time to leave them hanging. You have to be there for them. Even if you know, every Friday you put out a joke of the week or positive thought of the week, and it's just a video of you for 1 minute talking about something positive or trying to make them laugh or telling a story, and has nothing to do with any assignment or anything. Or you can even, you don't want to record yourself, do it in an email, you know, send it out appropriately. Try to show off your personality a little bit with online teaching. It really does help. It really can be done. You have to get a little bit more creative, but it definitely can be done. So moving forward, let me move to the close here. All right. I love this quote. Remember this quote. It's a great quote. Disruption and discomfort are the enemies of complacency and can spur intense professional growth. Use this time wisely. I know our mentor, John Gordon, talks about, right? This is a time to create. This is a time to expand. This is a time to write. This is a time to prep for next year and say, you know what? The things I'm doing right now in the online setting, maybe I can adapt this to the classroom and use it next year, okay? So this is the time, while we have the time, to be getting the creative juices going, accessing your brain, and just trying to get that going, because you're going to be so surprised at the new tools and discoveries and resources and approaches that you come up with. And as an online instructor, I can promise you, things are going online in the next 5-10 years. I really feel the next 5 decades or so, it's going to be much more virtual with high school, with college stuff, even college. I know at my alma mater, almost all the freshmen are required to do almost their whole first year or first semester entirely online. And some of you are like, oh my God, you know, and that's, you know, they can still go on campus, but this is the way of the world. So if you can kind of get yourself going with the online stuff now, it can definitely pay dividends later on. And keep watching the positive news. I know there's been videos of and teachers going around. There's one guy up in Michigan who takes the American flag and walks down the streets of the neighborhood, and he has the kids come out and do the Pledge of Allegiance. And he's in the street and the kids are way up on the porch. He does that every once in a while just to kind of keep instilling that value in them. I've seen videos of teachers from schools going in parades in their cars through the students' neighborhoods, and they come out and they celebrate and they hold up signs. I think that's awesome. I saw one of a teacher teaching something on a whiteboard, a math lesson, slope or some, you know, whatever that is. Now, from a porch, you know, safe distance away between glass, because the student said, I don't know how to do this. And he came and showed them that right there. Now, I'm not calling on any of you to go to your kids' houses, but you see what the point is, right? There is opportunity there to still be that light and that available force in their lives. This right now is the era of the servant leader. This is the rise of servant leadership at its finest. And if you've ever read the book, The Carpenter, another plug here by Mr. John Gordon, talks about love, serve, care. And this is a chance for you continuing to be the best examples you can, to love your students, to serve them, and to care for them in any way that they need. All right, and you've been given that responsibility, because not only do you have to take care of your own households, but of your student households as well. And so I want to thank you all for your time. If anybody's got anything to say, you can unmute yourself too. I just wanted to make sure we weren't getting Zoom bombed. Jackie, yeah, I have seen that good news by John Krasinski. It's terrific. He had 25 million views last time I saw it on YouTube and on Instagram. So that's what we need to be leaning into. Guys, thank you all so much. I sincerely appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I will be sending out what we talked about here in an outline, and as long as with the websites that I sent you. And I would love to connect with you moving forward. Thank you all so much. I'm doing this one again on Saturday morning, so if you have any friends that want to jump in, it's going to be Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. So be well. God bless. Wash your hands. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.